Hello, 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 hello. It's Dina. I hope you're having a good day. What I have to say is not easy. It's not easy to talk about, it's not easy to hear. If you're here to hear it, then hear it. And if you're not, just click away. I have to say my piece about this last election because I'm seeing too much that is inconsequential thinking happening now. There's our 3 o'clock chimes. I live near a church and it's beautiful because. So let's just listen to that, shall we? They go for 3 minutes. Oh, so I think we needed that. I'll record the bell for you later and I'll put it up as its own video. I didn't realize that would be so nice to have just 3 minutes. Just 3 minutes of quiet and coming back to yourself. So now I will try to get on with what I was saying. The news is very hard right now. I'm not telling you anything new if you're a Democrat, if you voted for Harris. You may be a little gleeful if you voted for Trump. You're probably not here. I'm, I don't expect that to be my audience. So the last thing that I think we need to do is be listening to news, the kind of story of which I clicked on this morning by mistake with Scott Johnson on CNN, telling the Democrats what we did wrong. I'm not interested. I know what we did wrong. I have a list. But it doesn't have anything to do with Kamala Harris, and it doesn't have anything to do with 2024. 2024 is about endemic racism and the fear that some people have of a compromising female head of state instead of a tough bully that pushes everybody in the world around. They're living in 1950. They want to live in 1950. Take America back, honey, to 1950. Make no mistake. They want to look up and see white faces in their church. They want to look up and see white faces in their workplace. They don't want to see a person of color boss. They don't believe a person of color could tell them what to do. Trust me. I was born in 63. I'm a 61-year-old black woman from Shelby, North Carolina. And when I talk like where I'm from, honey, I'm a redneck. But I ain't no redneck. And so when I was about 5 years old, I started listening. Both of my grandparents were college educated. Think about that. I was born in 1963. My grandfather is a white man, was a white man, went to school on the GI Bill because he was a veteran. He served in the military. So then they paid. He was the first generation, I think one of the first, to have their school paid for by the GI Bill. This meant that veterans could expect a college education if they did a few years of service for their country. And boy, did he do service. He was in World War II. He came to Germany, and I learned all about Germany from my grandfather. How wonderful the people were there. How he couldn't understand how they did what they had done. How they would allow such a leader to come into their country when they all had such beautiful things and nice families, and what a wonderful landscape. The Germans he met were very pleasant to him. They gave him a place to stay as a soldier, as an American soldier. They put him up and fed him because he was in the right area of Germany. He was in the area of Germany where Americans were welcomed. And now here I sit today in Germany, an American expat who does not have so much to lose as those who are living within the borders of what is to come. I can speak freely. I have privilege. I have white skin. Oh, Vita Crosby, I'm talking to you. This is a thing we did with our teacher. Surprise! I'm white. You know, that means I can walk around and everyone's going to look at me and wonder if I voted for Trump. If I lived in the United States. I didn't. But I don't know if I could handle that kind of scrutiny. And so to those who would criticize white women for wanting to wear blue bracelets, honey, I'm sorry I'm saying that too much. Look, That's Obama's phrase. Look, you know, we need a way that we can even distinguish each other. We need a way to tell who's on the team and who's not. Because as many black women are assuming right now, they can't trust any white people at all. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. And that's probably going to be the title of this video is I want white people at this moment especially to leave black women alone. Do not go up in their comment sections telling them you want them to be engaged. You think they should watch the news. You think they should look forward. You think they should be, look, take your white privilege and you go do it. Go do it with your white privileged self. If your grandparents, like mine, were born within the United States, if you're coming from a place of education, you're white. If you are even just white, the great unwashed is there to protect your rights. And listen, when the news is full of stuff about how Democrats did this and how Democrats did that, and we have to listen, we have to sit there and listen to a black man tell us who voted and who worked and who did what we could do to talk to our family, to convince our family 8 years ago to vote for the right candidate that would help the working class thrive, that would lift up. She calls it the middle class because you can't say you want to help the working class poor, can you? You can't say that. Can you imagine if she had run on a platform of helping the working class poor? Come on. That's what we're in here. We're in a class war in the United States. And it's a class war that is bound up with racism. So, and gender, sexism. So what I would say is we don't need conspiracy theories. The truth is bad enough. In the United States, we used to have all of our media, we had the equal time, I can't remember what it was called, a decision policy, something like that. There was one on equal time and there was one on platform positions. And so if you got onto a news network or whatever and you expressed your opinion about something, that network had to allow for someone to come on and express the opposing opinion. Now, when politicians started using news platforms to get interviews, they also had the equal time, where if a news show gave 60 minutes to a politician of one party, any other politician would have the right to come on for 60 minutes. Now, with the breakdown of media, we don't have any of this. People can just choose whatever media they want. And so the first thing the Democrats did wrong was we didn't insist on keeping the equal time policies. We didn't insist on trying to make platforms recognize algorithms. We allowed unfettered growth across technologies that people, senators still to this day don't understand. So we've had a lot of trouble with our platforms being manipulated by outside forces, which is exactly what these two doctrines had in place to start with, was to keep the United States election from being manipulated by outside forces that would lie and that would spread disinformation. And so problem number one is we have a lot of disinformation. We can't control that. But you know, the second thing we have is an uneducated population. The United States started allowing homeschooling in great numbers and with no authority and no oversight. And this came about, people wanted the right to parent, as a parent, to educate their own child. Well, let me ask you, when does it cross over from education into hate doctrine? When does that happen? If you're teaching colonialism and slavery, we have laws against that, right? Where is the homeschooler coming to knock on the door and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, sir, we need to look over your homeschooling materials to make sure they are in line with the laws of the United States that privilege independence, that privilege that you will stay out from up my butt as long as I don't try to get up yours. Let me be me." Where, I have the right of refusal to have a baby. If someone impregnated me, I refused. I never had children. So we don't need conspiracy theories. We already have enough that's real and true going on. YouTube education has become a problem. The idea that I can do anything as well as anybody else can if I just watch a couple of YouTube videos about it. Oh, let me redo my kitchen. I'll watch a YouTube video or two. Oh, let me paint my walls. I'll watch a YouTube video or two. Oh, let me run the government. I'll watch a YouTube video or two. Oh, I could do that better than they could. Let me be a senator. I don't need law training. I could do that. I don't need to know anything about logic or rhetoric. I can do it as well. No, you really can't. Now, you might be able to do it as effectively, right? You might be able to get the votes. And that's another thing I hear some Republicans now saying, is that they were right because they got the vote. No, the wrong person can get the vote. Make no mistake, the wrong person can get the vote, especially of people who will not do the research it requires to find out that Kamala Harris's economic policies are judged by economists to be far superior to anything Donald Trump has ever done. Likewise, also in other cases, immigrant policy. She has won. She has them. So don't tell me this was about issues. It was not for 1 minute about issues. Friedrich Nietzsche said that people do what they want to do all the time. And then they go back later when you ask them, "Why did you do that?" And they say, "Why did I do that? Well, let's see." And then they tell you what seems to make the most sense at the time. Maybe the story they told themselves about why they were doing what they were doing when they were doing it, right? But the fact is, it's bullshit. The people who say Trump's economic policies would be better never researched Harris's. I didn't have to research. I hear the voice of God telling me what to do. Honey, there ain't every voice in your head belong to God. You might be hearing, if you're cycling at some low levels, you might be hearing some voices. You might be hearing some things. But you should ask yourself, are these things grounded in love, or are these things grounded in paranoia and suspicion and hate? Am I finding it in myself to judge others of God's creatures instead of letting God do that? I think there's a lot we can blame ourselves for. But the one thing I do want to say is that do not blame, especially Black women at this point in time, if they want to take some time. As the demographic goes, they are the only demographic that actually showed up and did the work. Give them some peace. Give them some time. They'll be back, and they'll be back in their own way. And do not be offended if they look at you like they cannot trust you, because they cannot. We don't know yet what's going to happen, and they don't know how far you're willing to go for them. Do you get that? You don't have to. You don't have to wear a blue bracelet. You can take it off. You can go shopping. How far are you willing to go? If it comes to fighting in the streets, white people, are you going to fight? Are you just going to sit around and say, oh, you should watch more news, you should engage, oh, start up a coalition, we'll do this. Look, they did all that, and we let them down. And so let's not be pushing people right now. If you are a Black person who has found this channel or this video, I would like to say to you, it is better than it was in the past. You know, I worked for the Obama campaign, and we couldn't even keep signs up. They would rip them down. We couldn't keep signs. They were being destroyed and burned. North Carolinians were not allowing Obama's name to be shown anywhere. Look, at least this time there were enough allies. One day, you know, and I know justice delayed is justice denied. I am not denying that. I will not make any excuses. I just want to say, white people need to be aware that there is endemic racism. Let this convince you. Let this convince you. Do not believe whatever crappy reasons they're trying to give you. You go look at that for yourself. You go look at your own research. You go find out whose economic policies would be better. And now you tell me that they had a point. Oh yeah, Kamala Harris, her policies were blah, 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 blah. No, they were not. They were better. Her policies on immigration are better. She promised 100% cleanup cost for the North Carolina situation after the storm. Do you think Trump's going to do that? No. He's too busy getting people out. What? The storms are coming. The storms are coming. We know. So, what's the takeaway? Let people have their time. If they need time, they need time. You can't help anybody. You can only help yourself right now. What you can do is figure out who you are and what you have inside of yourself. You can breathe. You can distance yourself from hate news sources, from blaming news sources. You can surround yourself with YouTubers and Second Life and with people who are doing things that calm you for the days ahead, because you're going to need your strength. We know that's what's happening now. We're going to build our strength. All right. Gosh, that's been a long time. But I think we needed that little 3-minute break at the beginning too. So I wish you a safe day. Do what you need to do. Maybe go listen to some Ivo Artur, put the headphones on, and just let yourself drift away for a little while. And I'll be back a little later today with something else, maybe a poem. I think I have a haiku challenge to do. So, see you later. Talk to you soon. Be free.